Before you can know anything, you need to know your own mind. We have a tendency to believe that ignoring our pain is the effective way of healing it. So we bottle up our sorrows and pretend they never existed. We carry them around without ever noticing the weight upon our shoulders, while still asking ourselves what we could possibly be doing wrong in our lives, that some areas are simply forever complicated. Maybe love, maybe career, or maybe just everything. Hey guys, I'm Aster, and on this channel we talk about all things magic. Today I decided to talk about a topic that is extremely important, but I feel that in the magical community at least, people talk a lot about how important it is, but not enough people are talking about how to actually do it, which is shadow work. As magical practitioners, I believe that it is one of our duties, like homework, to dedicate a good amount of time to shadow work before we decide to dive into other endeavors, such as spirit work, for example. And I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. But as human beings in general, even if you didn't end up in this video for spiritual reasons, as humans, it is extremely important that we do shadow work, because it is through shadow work that we allow ourselves to know ourselves better, through giving the spotlight to everything that we have spent our lifetime repressing. This whole concept of shadow work comes from the works of Carl Jung. It was him who coined the term shadow self, which corresponds to the side of your mind, your personality, what have you, that the conscious mind is constantly trying to keep underneath the deep, dark waters of the unconscious. It's everything that our conscious mind, or our ego even, considers too negative or too traumatic to try and deal with. All of that gets pushed down and hidden in a part of ourselves that we never allow ourselves to access. And then shadow work takes you there to look at those demons in the eye. Just because you're ignoring certain things to the point that you don't even remember about them anymore, doesn't mean that they're not there. They are still inside of you, dictating your every move without you even being aware of it. Looking at your shadow is a hard process. It is difficult, but it is transformative, and it is what will set you free. There's this little scene from BoJack Horseman that they are about to walk through some kind of forest. This is a very interesting way of talking about this kind of process of shadow work. I remember that there were two characters. One says to the other something in the lines of, "Yeah, I know that going through the dark forest is complicated and it is scary, but you know what? The only way out is through." And that's exactly what shadow work is about. It's not about hiding those things beneath the surface your entire life. It's like going through it, navigating it in such a way that you end up freeing yourself from those burdens. Imagine that life is a pool. It is a pool that you're in. And all your negative feelings, all your flaws, all your trauma, all your triggers, and whatever, All of those negative things are a beach ball that you are constantly trying to keep under the water of the pool. That's a difficult task, don't you think? To keep that big beach ball underwater at all times. You spend a lot of energy keeping that ball down, and all of your actions in the pool revolve around not allowing that ball to surface ever. So even though the ball is submerged all the time, it is controlling your life all the time without you even noticing. So how do we go about this? First and foremost, I don't think that shadow work substitutes psychological help, therapy. On the contrary, I think that it should be done together with therapy if you can. I know that in some places therapy is very expensive, but I do recommend you to do both things. Either way, we need to give space to those feelings that have been neglected. The feelings that we didn't allow ourselves to feel, or feelings that the other people around us did not allow us to have. Just keep in mind that all of this process of shadow work, bringing forth the shadow, bringing forth negative things that you have experienced, negative feelings and everything, it is important, but you do not want to dwell in there for too long, because it can definitely take a toll in your energy and in your mindset. So it has to be a process of closure, kinda. You take a moment to do it and all, but then at a certain point, you close the notebook or whatever and you resume your life with your high energy, you know, because you don't want to become flooded with all of that negativity. You only want to give that space to be expressed. So it will no longer be the beach ball that you are trying to keep underwater. One thing that I recommend you do before starting shadow work is to meditate, okay? If you find that meditation is a little too difficult, you can totally go for guided meditations. There are tons of those on YouTube, or you can just, close your eyes, listen to something that you find very relaxing, instrumental especially, or some meditation music. And if you manage to get to altered states of consciousness, that's something that is very much advised, because the alpha brainwave brings forth our subconscious mind, and that is exactly what you want for shadow work. If you're not able to do that, that's okay, no problem. But if you can, it's even better. Now, we're gonna go to the actually how to do it. It is very simple, but in reality, kind of difficult at the same time. The way that I personally do it is through journaling. I write things down. If you want, you can talk about it. Maybe you could record yourself talking about something, or you could record your voice talking about something. I find it easier to do the shadow work journal entries coming from questions. Just coming like out of the blue, I can't, but when I have a question to answer, things become much clearer and I'm able to express myself on certain matters. So here I have a list of 15 questions that you can ask yourself through your process of shadow work. You can pause the video, write those down, and you will see that as you start answering those questions, other questions more personal to you will come along naturally. So, number 1, what are my limiting beliefs and why do I think that way? 2, what can I improve in myself? 3, what should I stop doing and why do I do that thing? 4. What should I start doing and why am I not doing it already? 5. What are my biggest fears and why? 6. What do I hide from others and why? 7. What are my biggest flaws? 8. What makes me envious and why? 9. What is my biggest disappointment in life and why? 10. What is my biggest insecurity and why? 11. What is a negative habit that I have? 12. Something I need to forgive myself for. 13. Something I need to forgive someone else for. 14. A difficult experience I had and how it made me feel. 15. Something that I try to not think about and why do I avoid it? So when you are journaling about all of those things, really try to go deep and extensive and detailed in your answers. Don't do it in a hurry. Simply turn off the filters. Like, make sure, of course, that you have privacy while you're doing it, that you're not gonna be interrupted. It is very important that you feel super comfortable and free to express yourself while you're doing it, because then you are able to not have any filters and talk about it freely in whatever form it is that you choose to do it, through writing, through recording, through whatever means you think works best for you. And just like allow yourself to just express it exactly as you want. Nobody is watching you, nobody's seeing what you are saying, what you are writing. And if you don't want, you don't need to show it to anyone, ever. You can even make a ritual out of it. You can write down an entry answering a certain question. One of these that I have suggested are a personal question that you have come up with for yourself. You can write about it as extensively as you want, and then you can burn it afterwards as like a ritual of liberating that experience, those feelings, releasing those feelings into the universe, really taking them out of you and releasing them with the wind. If you made recordings, you can just delete the files. Maybe you can watch it or listen to it after you've recorded them, but then you can simply delete the whole thing. You don't have to show this to anyone if you don't want to. If you want, you can share that with your psychologist. I think that can be super useful for therapy. I have done it and I think it's extremely useful. But if not, I'm repeating myself, but you don't have to show it to anyone. This is just creating an opportunity for those suppressed and repressed feelings to be expressed, to be released, like to break that bottle of stones that you are carrying around on your neck all the time. As spiritual practitioners, it is very important to know ourselves, to know our own energy, to know and be friends with our inner demons. And the quote that I used at the beginning of the video was a quote from one of the books by Jason Miller, Consorting with Spirits, if I'm not mistaken. And in spirit work, it is imperative to be in good terms with our negative side, with our trauma, with our ego, with all of that, because then it cannot be used against us. Isn't there a quote from Tyrion Lannister? I will not remember how exactly it goes, but it's something about wearing your weaknesses like armor so it will never be used to hurt you. That's shadow work, both in the physical, mundane world, as well as on the spiritual world. It is super important for the body, for the mind, and for the spirit. So yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope it was somehow helpful to the people out there who want to take a good look at themselves in the mirror. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and to tell me in the comments how shadow work has been for you. Do you manage to do it? Do you have any suggestions for the people who might find this video? Or for me? I would love to exchange some ideas with you down below in the comments, okay? Have a marvelous rest of your day. And remember, practice makes perfect. So let's get witching. Bye.